In 1998, U.S. embassies were bombed in Tanzania and in Kenya. More than 200 people were killed, including 12 Americans. 4 people have gone on trial in this country for that crime, for that act of terrorism. Wadi al-Hajj, Mohammed Sadiq Oda, Mohammed Rashid al-Awali, and Khalfan Khamis Mohammed. They were all convicted for that bombing and are all now serving life terms in the federal Supermax prison in Florence, Colorado. Today in Manhattan, a 5th co-conspirator finally went on trial, more than 10 years after the crime. His name is Ahmed Khalfan Gailani, and today he arrived in federal court in New York City to finally face justice. Good news, right? You'd think. But not if you're a House Republican. To them, finally putting Mr. Gailani on trial after the convictions of al-Hajj and Oda and al-Awali and Khamis Mohammed, finally putting Gailani on trial is a bad thing? House Minority Leader John Boehner issued this statement about the trial today. Quote, "This is the first step in the Democrats' plan to import terrorists into America." And from Republican House Minority Whip Eric Cantor, speaking with MSNBC's Norah O'Donnell.
There are so many unanswered questions about bringing these detainees onto U.S. soil. We have no judicial precedence for the conviction of someone like this.
No judicial, except for all of this guy's co-conspirators who were all tried and convicted in this same court, except for them, and except for all the other normal terrorism prosecutions we used to do before we decided that we were too afraid of our own Constitution to live under it anymore. Joining us now is New York Times columnist Bob Herbert. Mr. Herbert, thank you very much for joining us.
Now I understand the scary music.
Yes, exactly. Be afraid, make nonsense decisions that do nothing to make us safer. Do you ever think the United States would see it as a matter of debate whether or not we're capable of holding a prisoner?
No, there's a lot I'm kind of shocked at.
Yeah.
One, it's almost 8 years since September 11th, and we're still tying ourselves up in knots over this. But one of the things that really has surprised me was this idea of, throwing habeas corpus out the window, that you could hold someone in prison indefinitely without charging them, without allowing them to present a defense. The Times had a story over the weekend where the Obama administration is considering allowing terror suspects at Guantanamo to plead guilty to capital crimes, and therefore you wouldn't have to have a full trial. These are all bizarre things. In some cases, it goes back, in my view, to what I used to read about the Middle Ages. It's very strange.
You've covered the justice beat in one way or another for a very long time over the course of your career. When you see these debates now about the inability of Article III courts, courts as normally constituted under the Constitution, to be able to handle the types of crimes and threats that Americans face, do you feel like that debate overall does long-term harm to just the legitimacy of our justice system?
Oh, the debate has. I mean, the harm is being carried out right before our very eyes. We're afraid of our own ideals, it seems to me. I mean, does justice and the rule of law mean anything, or do we just apply it when it's convenient to us? The ideals of this country are what make this country special. We're not special because we're the most powerful country on earth, or because we're so rich, for example. We're special because of the ideals of freedom and fair treatment and the rule of law. All those things are what makes the U.S. special. When we allow terrorists to frighten us away from our own ideals, we undermine what's special about ourselves. We should not allow that to happen.
It also strikes me that the details of terrorism prosecutions in this country are really poorly known. It's not just the men who were tried and convicted already in conjunction with the embassy bombings, but even very well-known people like the Unabomber and Timothy McVeigh's case and his co-conspirator and all these people. We don't tend to follow these cases to fruition and know where these people ended up. But because of the debate right now that our courts somehow can't handle terrorism prosecutions anymore, I wonder if the prosecutions, those successful prosecutions of those people, are also being impugned, called into question in some way, if it's going to have some larger effect on what we do try to prosecute in this country.
The larger effect that I think it has is that we don't feel, we'll get to the point, maybe we're already there, that we don't feel we have to be scrupulous in the administration of justice. You know, it starts with terror suspects, information that was gotten from torture or from extreme interrogation that's suddenly okay. Some things, evidence can't be admissible because it's classified. You know, hearsay testimony can be used to convict somebody of very serious crimes. And that's the beginning of a very, very slippery slope. We shouldn't be there at all. We should step back from it. We should give people fair trials. If these are the worst of the worst, as they were characterized early on, then obviously there must be some reason someone's saying they're the worst of the worst. Let's use that evidence to convict them. But a question you have to ask is, if we were told that everybody at Guantanamo some years ago were the worst of the worst, and now so many people have been freed, what's going on there? The simple fact of the matter is we don't know who's innocent and we don't know who's guilty, and we need to sort that out.
Bob Herbert, New York Times columnist and all-around clear thinker on such issues. It's a real pleasure to have you here, Bob. Nice to see you.
Thanks so much, Rick.